All right, so welcome back. Well, this week there is sadly nothing really remarkable opening up in theaters, so I thought we would still stay with the movie theme that we've been doing these past few weeks and take a look at the opening logos. You've got the studio logos that come up whenever you want to see a movie, and depending on the studio, whether it's DreamWorks or Warner Brothers, they've all got really cool animated logos. What I thought we would do in this week's video is take a look at the DreamWorks logo. And if you've probably seen it before, it's got the clouds and the text, and it's kind of like panning through the clouds and everything like that. And I thought that would be a good example of demonstrating some of the cool 3D features in Photoshop CS4 Extended. So let's begin by actually creating the cloud elements. Now here I have a stock image that I got from Fotolia, and I just went in there and searched clouds, and I found this image here. And it has a couple of elements that will work perfectly for what we're trying to achieve here. So what I'm going to do is actually go in here, and this section of the cloud here is what I'm after. That seemed to look good. It had the right lighting and the right texture for the type of effect I'm going for. So I'm just going to take this and draw a lasso selection around it. Just grab the lasso tool in the toolbar, draw a very loose selection around there. And this is an important thing. When you're looking at stock images, don't look at the whole image. You may see parts of an image you can find very useful, like in this case, this very small area of the clouds. So with that area selected, I'm going to go ahead and copy it to its own layer by simply pressing Command J. And there you can see it in the layers panel. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger here. So got that area on its own layer. I'm going to create a new blank layer right underneath this one. I'm going to hold down my Command key, click the new layer icon, and I'm going to go ahead and fill this layer with black. So we'll go ahead and Shift Delete, use black, normal, and that isolates that area to the background. Now the reason I'm doing that is because we're going to modify this inside the channels. So we're going to jump over to the channels palette, and we're going to toggle through each individual channel looking for which one has the most detail, and it looks like it's going to be the red channel. So let's drag that down and create a duplicate. Then we're going to go into our toolbar and grab the brush tool. Going to use a soft edge brush, about 100 pixel soft edge brush here. Let's go in here and turn off any features we don't need, which in this case is the pressure sensitivity. I don't need that. And up here in the options bar, we're going to change the blend mode from normal to soft light, as you see it right here. And what that's going to allow me to do is to paint in here while leaving the highlighted areas alone. So the moment I click in this dark gray area and continue to paint without releasing my mouse, it will only affect the same, or areas of gray that are the same tone as where I initially clicked. So you can see it's leaving the lighter areas alone as I paint. So we can just kind of mask in this cloud a little bit, isolate it just a little bit better. Let's get that area right there. Just painting in, getting rid of those harsh edges there. I think that might work pretty good. Now down here at the bottom, I'm simply going to take my rectangular marquee tool and just draw a selection right here at the bottom and fill that with black. So we got a nice hard edge there. And that's okay because that's going to actually be on the bottom of our finished graphic. So now let's load this channel as a selection. I'm going to hold down my Command key and click right on that channel. We'll load it as an active selection. Let's go back into the composite channels, back into the layers panel. And let's go ahead and throw away these two layers that we created earlier. So we have that active selection now on that same cloud area. I'm just going to copy that selected area to its own layer. So Command J, and there we see it. It's got some transparency in there, and that looks pretty good. So now let's create the file that we're going to ultimately build the animation in, which is right here. So here I have a file that's about 775 by 484, 75 pixels per inch. This is going to be the final file. But before I do that, we're going to create another file that we need to create our 3D elements in. It needs to be much longer because we're going to be expanding these layers out to a size that's much bigger than our finished file. But we still need it to all be contained in the same 3D object. So back in this layer, I'm going to load this as a selection and copy it to the clipboard. Go into the File menu, go to New, and we're going to set this to inches. And we're going to do a 17-inch wide by 4-inch document at 75 pixels per inch. So it's a really long, narrow document there. Go ahead and turn the background to black by simply pressing Command I. And then let's go in here. Or actually, we got that on the clipboard, so I'm going to press Command V, and there it pastes those clouds into place. So let's go ahead and minimize this document. So here's our clouds in play. I'm going to press Command T and invoke the free transform on this. And I'm going to hold down the Option key and just drag this center handle out, and it will expand it in both directions all the way to the edge of the document. Just like that. Then we're going to create a duplicate of this layer. So I'm going to press Command J, so we have two instances of those clouds there. Then we're going to set a text layer. I'm going to grab my text tool in the toolbar and click right inside the document, and I'm going to type Planet Works. And let's go ahead and scale it up. I need to fill it with white, of course, so I'm going to Command Delete to fill it with the background color. And let's go ahead and center this. I'm going to press Command A to select all, center and vertical horizontal, or horizontal and vertical alignment there. Now, the original DreamWorks logo has the text slightly smaller than the first letter of each word. So I'm going to highlight the rest of the word planet, leaving the P alone, and let's just scale this down a little bit. Take it to we'll do it at around 120. More like 115. And we'll do the same with works here. Take that down to 115. Looking a little bit better. Let's go ahead and scale it up a little bit. So now we have the three elements to make up our entire scene. We've got two instances of the clouds and the text layer. Now we need to turn these all into 3D layers. So select each individual layer, go into the 3D menu, New Postcard from Layer. Again with this layer, New Postcard, and again with the text. So now each element is on its own layer. So now we need to combine all three of these into one single layer. So let's select two at a time. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and select two layers at a time. Again, in the 3D menu, down here to Merge 3D Layers. And again, we'll select the last two and Merge 3D. So now we got all those elements in place. So let's take our rotation tool, or actually get the slide tool and push this back a little bit. Actually, no, it's fine where it was. What we are going to do is going to open up the 3D panel. Let's go into the window menu and go to 3D. And inside of here, you can go into the mesh section, which is the second icon here, and still edit each one of those individual files independently right in here. So we want to select that text layer. And just so you know what we're looking at here, let's take the master 3D rotation tool and give this a turn. You see what's going on. You can see that there's one cloud layer, the other one, and the text layer. They're split apart. They're separated by a little bit of a distance there because it's in 3D. So let's take that text layer and actually put it between the clouds. So I'm going to select that PlanetWorks right here in the mesh panel and grab the slide tool inside the same panel and just give this a nudge back. So we're pushing it back in space, basically. That looks pretty good. So now it should be in between them, almost in between them. So that looks good. Now let's go ahead and open up our finished document size here. This is our finished window that we're going to build the animation in. And let's take that 3D layer and drag and drop it into this file. And there it goes, and it shows up. So let's go ahead and take this and slide it in a little bit. So now, back into that same mesh panel we were in a moment ago, let's modify this. Now, if I go ahead and take the master slide tool inside the toolbar here and just give us a little bit of a pan, you can see some places are moving faster than others. Some of the layers are moving faster than the others, and that's because of it being in 3D and sitting on multiple planes. Well, let's take that one cloud layer that's a little bit further or ahead, that's more closer to us. Select that in the mesh panel here, and let's bring that even closer to us. And we'll pan it up here a little bit. Maybe position it right about there. So when we give this thing a complete move, you'll notice that the clouds are moving. The ones closer to us are moving faster, and the ones further away are moving slower, just like it would be in reality. Very similar to the real DreamWorks logo. So we've got all that. Now let's add a color to it. So I'm going to go into my layers here and create a hue saturation adjustment layer. And inside the panel here, I'm going to click on Colorize, and we're going to set the hue to 225 and the saturation to 50. And look at that. It's looking a lot like the actual DreamWorks logo. So let's reselect that 3D layer and pan this across, and look what we're getting. Very cool effect there, traveling through and revealing that. Now, how do you animate it? Well, real quick, I'm just going to show you. I'll actually show you the finished product in just a moment, but if we want to animate this, so there we can see that cloud's moving. We can even take that and bring it even closer. And we can get really exaggerated movement there with those clouds panning over the text and everything like that. And if you're going to animate it, you can open up your animation panel and you go right in here on that layer, which is layer 1, which is the 3D layer right here. You go in here and you set your starting position, which would obviously be down here toward the end like that. Then right here under these properties for the animation, you've got 3D object position. Click and set a keyframe there. Position your playhead a little bit further down the timeline, and then simply go up in here and hold down your shift key to constrain your left to right movement and just push this along the document. And you'll notice it creates a new keyframe, and if I toggle my playhead through here, it is animating those layers in 3D. Now, just to give you an idea of what the finished product would look like, check this out. Got a finished version of the logo right here, and this is what we get. Pretty cool stuff, all on 3D layers, built entirely right there inside Photoshop using those 3D features in CS4 Extended.